You are Locked On Warriors POSTCAST, part of Locked On Sports Bay Area, on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yo, what's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Warriors POSTCAST. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. You may know me as the former producer from the Murph and Mac Morning Show on KMBR, and today, the Golden State Warriors closed out the NBA regular season with a 123-116 win over the Utah Jazz, securing a winning record at Chase Center. The Warriors finished the season strong, going 27-12 in their last 39 games, almost half of the season, but ultimately it wasn't enough to climb any higher than the 10th seed out west. Now the Dubs' little brother, the Sacramento Kings, are on deck. The I-80 series is back. We'll break it all down, but first, I want to thank all of you for watching us on the Locked On Sports Bay Area YouTube channel. If you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button right now. Thanks also for listening on the Locked On Warriors podcast feed. However you're getting the show, we appreciate it. And make sure to check out the Locked On Warriors daily show for more in-depth coverage. This episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. I admit it, I'm pretty competitive, and I'm a big fan of Monopoly Go, the mobile hit twist on classic Monopoly. So join your friends and download Monopoly Go now, free on the App Store or Google Play. In this one, the Warriors started out pretty good, not turning the ball over, taking pretty good care of it. No Draymond Green, no Stephen Curry. You kind of wondered how this offense would look without those two pieces. I mean, that's a massive part of what the Warriors do. And Chris Paul, obviously the point guard, can have no problem orchestrating the offense for the Warriors. And TJD, Klay Thompson, Andrew Wiggins, Kuminga rounded out the starting five for the Warriors. And they didn't really play a whole lot in this one because by halftime, just after halftime, the Warriors were doing a little scoreboard watching, and everyone realized the Los Angeles Lakers and the Sacramento Kings were both winning in blowouts. It wasn't really going to matter what the Warriors did in this one. They came out with the win anyways against the Jazz, 123-116, but it ended up not, it's totally inconsequential because since both the Lakers and the Kings won, the Warriors couldn't finish any higher than the 10th seed, which means that they'll be facing the Sacramento Kings in the first round because the Lakers won, so they're going to be finishing 8th, and the Kings 9th, the Warriors 10th. Because the Warriors realized this, they decided, let's go ahead and rest Klay Thompson. Let's go ahead and rest Andrew Wiggins, Chris Paul, Jonathan Kuminga. Kuminga played a little bit after that, a couple more minutes, but not very much longer. All of the Warriors' staple players got a bunch of rest in this one, and I think that's a big, big plus, especially picking up the win. It's a nice way to close the season. You never want to finish with a losing record at home, especially if you're going to be a playoff team. So the Warriors do finish with a winning record at home. And of course, they couldn't finish any other way. This season had to be another clutch game to finish this out. Like, what else defines this season other than clutch games for the Warriors? The 48th clutch game of the season. They finished 24-24 in those matchups. And that's so indicative of how this Warriors season has gone. It's been so up and down. They've been right at, every time that they have something good, something bad happens too. Down the stretch there, they've been iffy, a lot better since mid-January-ish. End of January, maybe beginning of February, pick a time in there. That's really when the Warriors started to ratchet up their play and kind of flip that switch. We've seen this before from the Dubs in years past, that 2022 championship season, the Dubs kind of meandering around for most of the season and then just flip the switch come late winter, early spring and ride that momentum all the way to a championship. Can they do it again, though? It will be tough. After you face the Kings, the path doesn't get any easier. If you win that 9-10 matchup, you face the loser of the 7-8, which looks like it's going to be the Pelicans versus the Lakers. And then the winner of that, if you advance past that, you get to go play the Oklahoma City Thunder. That's not going to be a very fun matchup for anybody. I think the Thunder are a very good team, so the Warriors have their work cut out for them absolutely in the NBA play-in tournament, and if you try and project ahead in the NBA playoffs as well, if they can make it that far. But first, the Sacramento Kings. We'll break down how the Warriors have fared against them this season a little bit later. Of course, the Warriors eliminated the Kings last season from playoff contention in that very, very intense, heated, passionate matchup in that first round. I went to a road game in that series in Sacramento, and oh my God, let me tell you, man, I wore the Draymond Green gamer just to draw the hate. I just wanted to feel the hate from Sacramento. So wore the Draymond Green gamer, and I don't think I went more than 2-3 minutes maybe without getting yelled at by by Kings fans. They're pretty rabid over there. The Warriors have always kind of had their thumb on the Kings, at least as of late, and the last decade or two. It hasn't been a very fun time for Kings fans, since the whole Mike Bibby, Chris Webber era ended. And the Warriors have gone the other direction. So especially with the proximity of the teams, Kings fans not really super fond of Warriors fans and the Warriors themselves. So it'll be a fun matchup full of passion and hatred and good old-fashioned rivalries in sports. They're just so fun, man. Just so fun. But we got to break down this game a little bit more. We'll leave some of the projecting for later on in the show. This one, I really liked what I saw from Klay. We got to talk about Klay's scoring tonight. I mean, he had limited minutes in this one, but in those limited minutes, 20 minutes played, he had 25 points. Klay just scorching. Between the first and the second quarter, there was a stretch where he scored 16 of the Warriors' 23 points during that time, and Klay was just drilling threes nonstop. And the way he came out in the second half was really encouraging too, because Klay did 19, I think he had 19 points. Yeah, 19 points in 15 first half minutes, 4 of 8 from 3, 5 of 9 from the field, and 5 of 5 from the free throw line. Klay getting to the line, a frequent flyer at the charity stripe in the first half. He's really been changing, adding that to his game lately. It's not something that he's done throughout most of his career, but it adds another element. The fact that Klay's willing to go inside as much as he is and draw the contact, bang bodies, using his size in the interior. It's been really neat to see him expand this part of his game, and it just makes him so much more dynamic. It adds who in their mid to early 30s in the NBA is adding whole new aspects of their game to their bag. Not very many guys. Klay Thompson is someone who can do this apparently, and that's great to see. It adds so much to this Warriors team, gives them a whole nother element to score with on offense, and makes Klay just that much more dynamic. The Warriors were not turning the ball over very much early on. Only 1 turnover in the first quarter, also very encouraging. This has been a big issue. We keep talking about on these post-game shows how the Warriors just seem to press and force passes into windows that aren't there, but just because they're trying to run a play and they're just really trying to force that play. And you even heard Kalen Azubuike talk about it in the broadcast today. If you were watching on NBC Sports Bay Area, he said they don't need to do that. They can just make a different pass. Wow, what a concept. Just make a different pass. That would be so great. It's, there's 5 players on the court. You don't have only one option. So maybe the Warriors just need to be a little less rigid and more free-flowing. This offense is at its best when it's flowing like water, and that's what they need to get back to. Obviously, tonight, you can't really make that judgment because you don't have Steph and Draymond out there. So this isn't going to be very indicative of what the Warriors do going forward. But I did really like that other guys weren't committing a ton of turnovers. The Warriors last outing, Steph had 7. So a lot of that is on him, really. There aren't too many games where Steph's gonna do that and kind of cost you at the end, but those 7 turnovers were pretty costly in their last time out. But the Warriors starters, only 3 turnovers. That's so much lower than what we've seen. Yes, I know they didn't play a lot in the second half, but even 3 first half turnovers for the Warriors starters, I'll take that, man. The way that they've been playing, the way that they keep turning the ball over, that's a big positive for this team. And these are obviously not the same starters that you're going to see, but Chris Paul coming off the bench, but Wiggins and TJD and Jonathan Kuminga, probably Klay Thompson come playoff time. These 4 guys are going to probably start or at least be in the mix for starting. Maybe not every game. The lineup, the rotation is probably going to shake up depending on the matchup. I'd assume with the various, the Warriors got so many different pieces that they can mix and match. Wiggins and Kuminga do a lot of the same things. TJD adds a whole new element in the post, protecting the rim. And Draymond, obviously, you need Draymond and Steph in that starting lineup. Draymond, the defense, the screening, the passing, the vision, just the connection that he brings to that starting lineup, invaluable. So I do wonder who's going to go to the bench. Maybe it is TJD. But I think that he provides the Warriors with their best defensive starting five, at least. And that's, I think, going to be a big, big key in that Kings series. We'll break that down more later on in the show. The Warriors held the Jazz in the first half to below 30% from three. And then to start that second half, the Utah Jazz came out firing. And I thought to myself, and Fitz said it on the broadcast too, oh no, this is going to be a repeat of that nightmare quarter from the Pelicans loss that cost the Warriors in their last outing. Utah came out and hit 5 of 6 from three in the first 4 minutes of the quarter. It was insane. This is a team that is last in the NBA in three-point shooting. They shot less than 30% from three-point range in the first half. Where is this coming from? Seems like whenever Keontae George is playing the Warriors, he just all of a sudden turns into Ray Allen from three or something. I don't understand, man. Keontae George is a nice rookie, though. It's a nice piece over there in Utah. But they're bottom 10 in the NBA in three-point shooting. They're 30th in turnovers. That was my mistake. I mixed those two stats up. My bad, my brain. The Warriors, at that point, took all their starters out after they realized the Lakers and the Kings were both winning at blowouts. Needed to rest guys. Klay's been playing a ton of minutes. The Warriors have been really good at resting Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Steph Curry down the stretch as much as they can while still picking up wins and staying competitive. I like that Kerr has looked to find spots. I mean, coming into today, every game in the NBA is already done for the most part. I think there might be still a couple games going in the last couple of minutes, but the Warriors coming into today could have climbed as high as the 8th seed. And the cojones on Steve Kerr to rest Steph Curry and Draymond Green. Yeah, I know it's Utah. Yeah, I know they've been really bad in the second half of the season, especially. Yeah, I know they're really bad on the road, but still, in a game that you have to win, you're gonna rest Steph Curry and Draymond Green, and you're gonna roll the dice and say everyone else go out there and win, and they did. And to their credit, the bench, all the usual DNPs, the Lester Quinones, the Pat Spencer, the Jerome Robinson, all of these guys played pretty good tonight. I mean, every single Warrior who played scored except for Jonathan Kuminga. What? That's really weird. We got to talk about that a little bit too. A really weird game from Kuminga tonight. Are we concerned? And we got to project to look more at the Sacramento Kings series, plus reflect on what's been another spectacular, historic season for Steph Wardell Curry. We'll break it all down. Stick with us here on the Locked On Warriors postcast. I am your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We will be right back. Today's show is sponsored by Gametime. Buying tickets for sporting events and concerts can be such a pain. I remember trying to find last-minute tickets for the Giants last season, and all I could find were overpriced tickets and bad seats. But that changed when I started buying my tickets through Gametime. Gametime is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Gametime app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Can you believe that? And with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Gametime takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. What more do you want, man? If you're like me and you've got a few upcoming shows you're probably looking at too, maybe you want to go see Dead & Company at the Sphere in Vegas, the Rolling Stones at Levi's, Blink-182 at Chase Center, and of course, all sorts of great Giants games at Oracle Park. I mean, last season's NL champ is coming to town soon, and you can even get in on the Pat Bailey bobblehead or Logan Webb basketball jersey giveaway. Logan Webb basketball jersey looks fire, man. All during the next homestand. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep, lift your head up, and say to yourself, time to get back in the game, pull off some bank heists, and take as much of my friends' money as I possibly can. That's right. Hit the smash hit mobile game. Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone, anytime, with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do. Play on countless dynamic Monopoly boards. Make your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball. Charge other players rent for your iconic properties. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra rewards and climb the leaderboard. So get back out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free at the App Store or Google Play. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and the Warriors win 123-116 over the Utah Jazz in their final regular season game of the 2023-2024 NBA regular season. The Warriors close out the year 46-36, 10 games over 500, 21-20 at home, and 10 games over 500 sounds good. Like any other year, that seems like you're going to get into the playoffs. Maybe we just say this every year in the Western Conference, because every year I look over at the East and there's some team with like 42 wins that's in the playoffs. And I just don't understand how the West is always so much better than the East, at least the well-rounded. Maybe the top end teams are right there with each other, but the bottom half of the Western Conference playoff teams are always so much better than the bottom half of the East. I just don't understand, man. I don't get it. The West is so competitive, and it has been for so long. It's really weird that those differences have existed for the way that they have. You know, you look at other sports, American League, National League, and in baseball, or AFC and NFC in football, the power dynamics switch back and forth. It's just been the West for a while, man. And there's so many dynamic superstars out West as well. And the Warriors looking at a couple in De'Aaron Fox and Sabonis up there in Sacramento. Thankfully for the Warriors, they're not the same team that they've played earlier this season. We got to look at this looming matchup. It's I know this game against the Utah Jazz just wrapped up, and usually we break down moments from the game so much more in detail, but this game seems so inconsequential that I think our time is better spent focusing on the Warriors-Kings matchup. So Warriors finished 10th, Kings finished 9th. I would personally kind of rather play the Kings than the Lakers. I am disappointed that the Warriors don't have a chance to eliminate the Lakers in this first play-in matchup. Maybe they'll have a chance to eliminate them in the second game if the Warriors advance past this first one against the Kings. But I do think that the Kings are a little bit of an easier matchup than the Lakers for the Warriors. The Warriors are 2-2 against the Kings this season. They won the first two matchups, but lost the second two. Now, both losses were only by 1 point. Those first three matchups also came before the end of the month of November. So obviously, these teams have changed a ton since then. Their last matchup was in January. Since then, for the Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga has emerged. Draymond Green is a completely different player at this point in the season than he was earlier in the season. Klay has really found his role on the bench. Brandon Pajemski, Trace Jackson Davis, all of these guys have really changed as players. The Warriors lineup has changed over and over and over again this season. Chris Paul playing much better, not injured. All of these things are different now. And the Kings, no Malik Monk, no Kevin Huerter. They're missing some guys. Some really key contributors over there in Sacramento are not there right now. The chips look like they're falling in the Warriors' favor. The Kings have not been, they didn't close out the season nearly as well as the Warriors did. And they fell in the standings as a result. Now, their last matchup was in January, and the Kings won that game by 1 point, 134-133. If you guys remember, Harrison Barnes had his revenge game in that last meeting between the two. Remember, he had that 39 points and talked in the postgame about how bad the Kings want to beat the Warriors every time they play, and how it felt good for him to have this type of game against his former team. Took a little like thinly veiled shot. It's going to be intense, man. These two teams do not like each other. I mean, I know it's the current modern day NBA where everybody is kind of buddy, but like this is a legitimate rivalry. Like I think so, at least. Like the way that the fans get into it, heated, passionate fan bases, Sabonis and Draymond, like we all know about the stomp heard around the world and all of the ramifications from that. Like these two teams, there's some bad blood there. They don't like each other. The Kings are tired of being in the Warriors' shadow. De'Aaron Fox is a baller, man, and he just gets no love out there in the tiny market of Sacramento, and he's got to sit back and watch Steph Curry get all this love just down I-80 in San Francisco. It's got to be agonizing. And so both teams obviously are going to be desperate scrapping to win this game. Basically, the key in this matchup that I'm queuing in on is in both the Warriors wins, they held the Kings to under 115. If this turns into a full-blown track meet, the Sacramento Kings have the advantage. They're younger, they're more athletic, they can get out and run the Warriors ragged. I mean, the Warriors are not a young team. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green have been here forever and are not the same, 20-somethings they used to be. Draymond with those huge ice packs on his knee every single game. Klay, you see the legs on Klay Thompson start to deteriorate towards the end of games. Sometimes in that fourth quarter, he's just not the same. Jumper's not coming out the same way. That first step doesn't look quite the same. Steph is Steph, and he's superhuman. He's just himself, and doesn't matter what time of day, what time of year, time of game, does not matter. It is always time for Steph to sink some threes. So you do have to kind of think that the Warriors need to step up on defense to win this game, especially because a lot of the second half success in the season has been fueled on the back of this defense. Draymond's return from suspension completely changed what this team looked like defensively. And of course, there was also no GP2 again tonight. There was no GP2 last night as well. He'll be coming back hopefully for the Warriors against the Kings, and they need a lift like that. Like, that guy is going to be so critical, I think, in slowing down this Kings transition attack. The points off turnovers, I think, is going to be a big deal too. If the Kings can force the Warriors into early turnovers and get out and run, that's not a good recipe for success for the Warriors. This is so weird to say, because usually you're just like, yeah, let's get out and run with anybody, shooting competition. Let's go. We'll take the Warriors over anybody. But the Kings are not to be trifled with in a game like that. I do think the Warriors have a shot at winning a game like that. I'm not saying it's immediately going to go the Kings if that's how the game script goes, but the Warriors have a much better chance at winning if they let their defense and ball control lead the way. If they dominate points in the paint and they play solid defense, and Steph's going to do what he's going to do. He's going to hit some threes, get Jonathan Kuminga involved in the offense. He did not do a whole lot scoring-wise tonight. Didn't do anything, actually, scoring-wise tonight. Get Andrew Wiggins rolling downhill with those ball screens, which the Warriors seem to be stuck on, which is great. I mean, it was working all night today, all afternoon, I should say, today against the Jazz. And, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Keep running that same ball screen over and over and over again until they figure out how to stop it. Wiggins making all the right decisions out of those plays, out of that set. And he had a really good night tonight before he came out. He had 19 points as well in this one, 4 boards, 3 assists, 2 steals for Andrew Wiggins, 6 of 11 from the field in 20 minutes. That's very efficient. It's very efficient, and hopefully he can replicate performances like this in the postseason. Or if you guys still don't want me to call it, I know it's not the playoffs, but if you don't want me to call it the postseason, the play-in tournament. Jonathan Kuminga, weird night, man. Weird night. 0 points, minus 18 plus minus on the floor, a block, 2 steals, 7 assists, 0 rebounds, and 0 for 4 from the field in 23 minutes. Weird, but not concerned. It's the last game of the regular season. I have a feeling that they kind of told Kuminga, like, hey, chill. You don't need to go F1 speed all day long in this one. Maybe just get ready for the playoffs. Maybe just get ready for the Kings in Sacramento. So the Warriors, again, close out the regular season with a win, 123-116 over the Utah Jazz. Inconsequential win ultimately at the end of the day, as they still end up in the 10th seed. Sacramento on deck. But we got to look back at what was another spectacular, historic season for Steph, Wardell, Curry. On the other side, we're going to break down some of Steph's stats from this season. This is the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We will be right back. Today's episode of Locked On Sports Bay Area is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 3 million members. PrizePicks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. It's just you against the numbers. You pick more than or less than on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. Get in on the playoff action and win up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks as you and the world's best players take the game to a new level during basketball's postseason right around the corner. Playoffs begin April 20th. The play-in round April 16th, 17th, and 19th. Warriors playing on Tuesday against the Kings, and you can win now, up to 100 times your money on PrizePicks with as little as 4 correct picks. You can turn $10 into $1,000 with basketball, hockey, and college basketball entries today on PrizePicks, America's #1 fantasy sports app. And it's really simple and easy to play. I can make my picks and submit my entry in less than 60 seconds. Today on PrizePicks, with the Dodgers, they constantly beating up on the Giants. We gotta win something off these Dodgers, right? So I went with Mookie Betts more than 0.5 hits, Shohei Ohtani more than 0.5 RBI. We'll see how that one works out. Go to prizepicks.com/lockedonnba and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/lockedonnba and use code LOCKEDONNBA for a first deposit match of up to $100. It's PrizePicks. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. Welcome back to the Locked On Warriors postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel, and we roll on with another season of Steph greatness. Steph finishes again top 10 in points per game, 26.4 points per game for Stephen Curry. At 36 years old, this is impressive. This is very, very, very impressive. It can't be overstated enough how much Steph is just an ageless wonder. Like we always talk about LeBron as this guy who's defeating Father Time. Look what Steph is doing. 32.7 minutes per game. In a lot of those minutes, he is so much more active than a lot of guys playing 32 minutes a game, 33 minutes a game. I mean, when does he ever stop moving on the court? Never. Constantly running, constantly getting just obliterated in the paint. Every time he goes in for to drive the lane for a scoop shot, I feel like he's always getting tackled. Like it's like I'm watching a Niners game or something. Like Steph just hitting the deck constantly, 7-footers just landing on top of him, never getting a call. Steph finishes a lot of games looking like he got beat up, like he got jumped, like his arms are all scratched up. He's got all these bruises all over. His 32.7 minutes are a battle. Every single one of them. He's getting double teams. He's got people. The ball pressure is so intense. So many other guys in the NBA who are playing this many minutes don't have that same level of pressure on them, the same level of rigor in those minutes. He hits 357 threes this season. First place in the NBA by far. Over 300 threes now 5 times in his career. Only 2 other guys have done it, James Harden and Klay Thompson. This has been talked about so many times before. I'm sure you guys know this already, but it's worth repeating. His 357 threes are the second most in a season that he's made in his career. Only year he had more was 2015, 2016, when he drilled over 400 threes. Steph Curry is 36 years old, and he just made 357 threes in one season. I just need you guys to all take a minute with me and let just bask in this moment, man. Like whatever the Warriors do in the postseason, I am so grateful for Stephen Curry and the way that he has changed Warriors basketball. Who knows if this is the last greatest season Steph is going to have? Who knows if when the decline is going to start? It's going to have to start eventually, as much as we all don't want it to, as much as we don't want to talk about it. He's going to turn 37 during next year's NBA season. Is he going to be able to repeat something like this? How many more times can he do it if he does? The Warriors cannot waste Stephen Curry's greatness. 357 threes from Steph and ending up in the 10th seed is disappointing. There's no two ways about it. It's disappointing. The Warriors played down to their competition a lot this year. They had to deal with injuries, yeah, but so does every other team in the NBA. At the end of the day, the Warriors were a relatively immature team in the beginning of the season, and they matured a lot in the second half of the season. Jonathan Kuminga, Trayce Jackson-Davis, Brandon Pajemski, those 3 guys turning into who they are now really, really revolutionized what the Warriors are going into the postseason. Obviously, Steph, Klay, Draymond are going to be what they're going to be, and Chris Paul as well. But these young guys, if they can step up, if they can give the Warriors the minutes that are going to be needed in the postseason, they can make a run, man. I'm telling you, they can make a run. And I'm not gonna say that the Warriors are my guaranteed pick to come out of the West. I mean, this is going to be a gauntlet. It's not going to be easy. They have their work cut out for them. Sacramento from the jump, the play-in game isn't a cakewalk. That's going to be a very tough test. and then they're going to have to face either the Lakers or the Pelicans. And we know the Lakers match up pretty well against the Warriors. Draymond Green kind of owns AD a little bit, but the Lakers and LeBron versus the Warriors dynasty trio, the three-headed goat, as Trace calls them, it's going to be a matchup, man. It's going to be a huge matchup if the Lakers end up against the Warriors in that second round of the play-in tournament, or if it's the Pelicans just whooped the Warriors last night. So this is not going to be an easy path even out of the play-in tournament. And that's, of course, if you make it through all this, then you get the Oklahoma City Thunder. They got their work cut out for them. It's going to be tough, but as long as you got Steph Curry, 357 threes in a season, as long as you have Steph Curry, you have a shot. We'll see how it shakes out. That's about all the time that we have for you today in this one. We will come to you live after Warriors Kings on Tuesday. The I-80 series is going to be lit, man. We'll hopefully that's the only thing that's going to be lit, because we don't want any beams lighting out there in Sacramento on Tuesday night. Warriors Kings, make sure you tune in to Locked On Warriors Postcast afterwards. That's all the time we got for you today. This has been the Locked On Warriors Postcast. I'm your host, Eric Triple E Engel. We'll see you next time. Peace.